Why Joan of Arc, or Jeanne d'Arc's story, is straight out of a fantasy game. Jeanne d'Arc, born as a peasant in France during the 100 Years' War, and was only 13 when she heard the voice of God to save France from the war. Jeanne d'Arc convinced Charles VII she had a calling from God, and he gave her an army and 2 competent knights, Gilles de Rais and La Hire. Before going off to battle, Jeanne d'Arc said she's been told by angels that underneath an altar inside the church of Saint Catherine of Fierbois, there is a sword hidden inside. Surprisingly, there was actually a sword, and she used it as her commanding weapon. Another miracle happened when Jeanne's army was stopped at a river, and there was no wind for boats to move. Jeanne prayed for wind, and it started blowing. Her army safely crossed the river and make their way into Orléans. Jeanne d'Arc didn't just command the army, she fought in the front lines bravely, and even took an arrow not in the knee, but in the upper chest, but continued to fight only after getting first aid treatment. The Battle of Orléans, which was going on for half a year, was over in 10 days after Jeanne arrived. After freeing the Orléans, Jeanne's army achieved victory over victory under her command. She met a formidable enemy, John Talbot, who was known as English Achilles and terror of the French at the Battle of Patay, but she was able to capture him and emerge victorious. Jeanne's efforts led to the coronation of Charles VII at Reims Cathedral in 1429, solidifying his legitimacy as the French king. But Charles VII and the French government grew jealous of Jeanne's influence and power and accused her of heresy, witchcraft, and dressing in men's clothing. The trial records contain bizarre and surreal accusations. She was burned at the stake in 1431 at the age of 19, and her ashes were thrown into the Seine River to prevent relics from being collected. But after her death, she was posthumously declared innocent of her charges, and her reputation was restored. And in 1920, almost 500 years after her death, Joan of Arc was canonized as a saint by the Catholic Church. She is considered a symbol of French nationalism and resilience, and she became a cultural and historical icon. Her life is an inspiring tale, and so unreal it can even be a fantasy video game story. But it was real. Crazy!